Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. Good morning to everyone out there. I wanted to do just a little bit of a free agency update around the Raiders. We're going to talk about the Geno Smith contract because I do think that there is a lot of confusion around it. And I'm not going to lie, the whole Geno contract for me is even a little bit hard to digest, but I think it was based on the way it was reported by the beat reporters, which is why there's a lot of Raiders fans that are a little bit confused. So I'm going to try to do my best to explain why a Geno Smith contract extension does not have to happen by today, and around some of the money that is available to him and it is not due to him today. We're also going to talk about where the Raiders salary cap is at, some of the biggest needs after the first week of free agency. And then I figured I would do at the very end like a quick little free agency grades recap, just because I did a video like that earlier in the week, but a lot has changed around the NFL, so I wanted to be able to give you an update on some of that stuff. So I do know that there is a lot of confusion. I've been getting a lot of DMs around the Geno Smith contract, and I think it's because it was reported earlier in the week by Tashawn Reed. Here's the report. Smith should receive a contract extension from the Raiders this week, according to league sources. He's going into the final year of a 3-year extension he signed with Seattle back in 2023. While he has no guaranteed money left on the deal, he's due $16 million roster bonus on Sunday. That's the artificial deadline for the Raiders to sign him to a new contract if their intention is to lower his 2025 cap hit, which is currently set to be $31 million. So there's a lot of key points in that quote that I think, maybe Tashawn didn't know exactly what he was saying, but maybe also I did a bad job explaining it. Again, my job here, I'm not a contract guy, and anybody that's trying to get numbers from me, besides a contract projection, I question what you're doing. But I do think that there's a lot of confusion in it. So let me break it down here, okay? Final year of his 3-year extension signed by Seattle. While he has no guaranteed money left on the deal, he's due $16 million roster bonus on Sunday. He is due it, but that doesn't mean the Raiders have to pay it today. The real, correct way that it's broken down, and again, I broke this down a little bit yesterday on the show. The key word is available. So $16 million roster bonus becomes available to Geno Smith today, okay? So it's not like 16 mil is hitting Geno's bank account today. No, it becomes available to him today. And that's based on some escalators, which I'll talk about here in a second. The artificial deadline for the Raiders to sign him to a new contract, and here's the key part, if the intention is to lower his 2025 cap hit. From what it sounds like right now, the Raiders seem to be content with paying Geno Smith $31 million this year, which again, if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, that is a phenomenal value for a quarterback of Geno's caliber, right? Like, for example, the Jets this year will be paying Justin Fields $30 million because they gave him $30 million guaranteed. I'm not saying that's exactly what his cap hit is, but in the mind of money and the way that the Raiders are operating this offseason, money is money to the Raiders. And I think it's one of the reasons why that they are playing it a little bit more safe. So essentially what I understand from Geno's contract is this. The Raiders are okay giving him $31 million as a cap hit. And the idea of the deadline being today was if they wanted to be able to lower that cap hit. The fact that they are okay at $31 million, the Raiders still have plenty of money to go out there and spend. But that doesn't mean that they can't get an extension done with Geno. They still can absolutely get an extension done with Geno. It just might be a little bit different of what that salary cap was going to be. What do I mean by that? A lot of times when you see an extension happen, and if it would have happened before the deadline, the 16th, today, then the Raiders could have even, gotten that salary cap a little bit lower. But what you could see the Raiders do is still give him an extension, and they are still going to give Geno an extension. It's why, the trade ended up going down in the first place. But when you look at it, I do think that, because in my mind, when I was thinking about the Geno contract, I was also tying in that other year they had with Seattle. What you could see the Raiders do is say, okay, we're going to do that Seattle deal. It is what it is because, Pete Carroll was a part of that regime that tried to get that one done. And now that he's a Raider, we're going to get a brand new deal done on top of that. So the numbers that I've been seeing, because I've seen, again, a lot of confusion around the Geno thing, where Overthecap has $10 million. Spotrac is mentioning $16 million today. The $16 million and the 10 are both correct, okay? So originally it was a $10 million bonus to Geno with $2 million, they're called escalators. Again, if you want to see more in depth, I broke it down a little bit more in depth yesterday, but $2 million escalators if he threw for over 4,282 yards, which he did. If he threw for 30 touchdowns, he did not do that last season. A completion percentage of 69.7 or higher, which he did. A passer rating of 100, which he did not. Wins 10 or a playoff berth. The Seahawks won 10. So because he got 3 out of those, he gets an additional $6 million, which is the $16 million on Geno's contract. Here's the important thing though, right? And again, I always try to go back and look at history when it comes to contracts because it is a little bit confusing. Geno in 2024, his roster bonus was $9.6 million. That was converted into a signing bonus, which for the Raiders, they can still convert some of that money that he got, the $16 million, into a signing bonus this year, which could also potentially help out the salary cap. The salary cap in the NFL is one of the most confusing things out there, and I do know that there was a lot of what exactly can happen. Geno can still sign a contract extension. Essentially, the Raiders are okay giving him $31 million this season as a cap. That's how I would look at it. Again, I hope I explained all that very well to you, but the wording that you need to look at is it becomes available today, not that it is locked in stone. They have to pay him today, which, again, salary cap. So I wanted to just give you an update of where it stands right now. So the Raiders, according to Overthecap, are at 47.5. Spotrac is 48.5. Dead money right now is $44.2 million. One of the reasons why I think that the Raiders have spent money the way that they've spent money this offseason is because they're also trying to clean up the mess left behind by Gruden and the Mayock, trying to clean up the mess by McDaniels and Ziegler, the mess left behind by Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco. And I know there's a lot of frustrated Raiders fans out there, but you got $44.2 million in dead money. That's the 8th most in the NFL. One of the ways that smart teams try to get a team back on track, and instead of just trying to, put a Band-Aid on it and trying to get it going right away in year one, which is what the Raiders' past regimes have tried to do. The past regimes have gone about as, I'm smarter than you, I can do this rebuild in 1 year. And maybe, that's what Mark Davis was trying to get. I'm not saying that that's what AP and Telesco tried to do, but those other regimes, that's what they did, and that's why they spent money willy-nilly. But that's also why we're in the situation that we are in right now. And I think for the Raiders, they're trying to build for the future. Yeah, they're trying to win right now, but their window, I'm telling y'all, is 2 to 3 years from now. But they're trying to make sure that all the contracts that they have are good contracts, and 2 to 3 years down the road, we're not paying $44.2 million in dead money. Smart spending is what this team is trying to do, and they're trying to build for the future. So coming up here, I want to talk about some of the team needs. And again, when you look at the salary cap, we are 7th most money, and that is even with Geno Smith counting at $31 million against our cap. The Raiders can still go out and they can build this team the right way. There are some certain players out there. There are certain team needs that I would like for this team to go out there and get. And obviously, if any news ends up going down, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. All right, so what does the Raiders' biggest team need right now? I'm going to go through and just kind of break it down for you of the top 6 needs that I think that this team has. If you guys want to go down in the comments and let me know what you think the biggest team need is right now. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let me know down below, what do you think the Raiders' biggest team need is right now? Coming up here on the show, I'm going to give you my top 6 for the nation. All right, so the first need that I would say is wide receiver. I still think that this is a team that needs to add at least one veteran, and I won't even be surprised if you try to add another on top of drafting one. I do think that 2 wide receivers is necessary because I know you got Jacoby. Trey Tucker is still an unknown. I will say I am wondering to see what Kyle Phillips' role is with this team. I think it's going to be a lot sneakier of a role than any of us realize. But I believe that this is a team looking for a wide receiver that is a vet. They've been interested in a lot of different wide receivers this offseason, but they're also going to draft a receiver as well. Just we don't know exactly when that value is going to be. Offensive tackle is, to me, the second biggest need for this organization. And I say that not because I don't believe in DJ Glaze, but because I know the importance of an offensive line for this offense this season, for Geno Smith, and just how we got to get the running game going. I don't want to be in a situation where we have a second-year offensive lineman, and Glaze showed some growth last season, no doubt about it. But if you have the opportunity to upgrade an offensive tackle, I think that you should do it. The thing is this, I don't want you to upgrade an offensive tackle in free agency. I think we have enough good players on this line. And again, it's a lot better of a line than what people give it credit for, but it's not good enough for what I want, if that makes sense. Like, it's good enough right now to go out there and say, you know what, we have a chance to be an average offensive line. I agree with that. I think we have the chance to be an average offensive line. I don't want to be an average offensive line. I want to be a top 10 offensive line. So if you have the opportunity to go out and get a tackle, which I would say is probably going to have to happen in the draft, I would see that as being a pick in one of your first 3 picks. I also think that the Raiders are going to try to trade back and accumulate more picks. Free safety. Got to figure out a way to get a free safety. You lost out on Trevon Merrick, which again, it's okay. We're going to get comp picks for it. And kind of like I mentioned earlier with the salary cap, when you look at the Raiders' smart spending, also there's a lot of smart teams out there that value comp picks to be able to rebuild. Yeah, losing out on Nate Hobbs, Robert Spillane, all these other players, but if you're able to get comp picks in return, that helps you build the right way. And for an organization like Carroll and Spytech that have been able to do it that way and have had success doing it, it really shouldn't surprise you the way that they are operating this offseason. It's literally what they have done all of their past years. But free safety is still a position that I would like to see the Raiders potentially go out and look at in free agency. But then at the exact same time, you know, they love Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. They're also meeting with, I can never pronounce his name, kid from South Carolina, athletic specimen, Emma Warry. He's a freak of nature. Now, I don't know if he's not really a free safety, like a true coverage safety, but that could be somebody that they would want to bring in to almost play like another Jeremy Chin style of role or a linebacker safety hybrid. And I think that Emma Warry is going to play the role that we were all hoping, you know, Tanner Muse would play, converted safety into linebacker, converted, you know, Divine Diablo, converted strong safety into linebacker. That could be a role that the Raiders are looking for. Running back is another position of need, but I'll be real, I don't want the Raiders to go out and add anybody else in free agency at running back. You got to go get that position in the draft. Cornerback, I will admit, the addition of Eric Stokes I like in the competition that he's going to have out there. And there's going to be a lot of good young competition, right? DeCamerion Richardson, really long, athletic, lanky corner, kind of fits with what Carroll wants. You add that with Ja'Cory and Bennett, with Eric Stokes, with Jack Jones. You know, they could try to add another corner. I've been kind of waiting to see if they would add a veteran in free agency. But after those names that I just mentioned there, I think that this is going to be a staff that believes in their coaching staff, and they're going to potentially try to add another one. We'll see what ends up happening. And then linebacker, these are, to me, just the biggest needs. And you could make an argument that the Raiders still could add a position at almost every spot because we still need to add a lot of extra depth. But to me, right now, your biggest needs that I would like for this Raiders team to address this offseason still wide receiver, offensive tackle, free safety, running back, cornerback, linebacker. These are the positions that I would like to see. Do I want to add another tight end? Yeah, sure. It could be later on. Do I want to add another offensive guard? It can never hurt. Defensive end, defensive tackle? Yeah, absolutely. But to me, those are positions that the Raiders, to me, got to concentrate on a little bit more. Coming up here, and it's going to be the way that I end the show, just some free agency grades. I'm going to go through all the moves that the Raiders have made, and these are the free agency moves that I consider, right? And some of them happened before a tampering period, but when I think of just the grand scheme of what Raiders free agency has looked like, these are the moves that I want to be able to discuss. First one is Alex Cappa, 2 years, $11 million. I gave this a D, and I'm going to stick to this D grade. I know that the Raiders trust Cappa, and when you've seen the 2 moves that the Raiders have made on the offensive side of the football, it's 2 guys that this regime believes in, right? However, Cappa is coming off his worst year, and he just continues to get worse and worse. Maybe I'm wrong in saying it, but that was a D move to me. The Geno Smith trade, acquiring him for a 3rd-round pick, the top quarterback that the Raiders could have brought in, not named Matthew Stafford, because here's the thing. Geno's better than Aaron Rodgers. Geno's better than Sam Darnold. Geno's better than Justin Fields. Geno's better than any realistic quarterback option this team could have got. Because of that, right now I'm going to give that a B-plus grade. If the Raiders go out and they're able to get Geno on a $40 million deal, I might bump that up. If it's a $50 million deal, well, then I might bump that one down a little bit. Adam Butler, bringing him back on a 3-year, $16 million, that was an A-plus grade for me. And he was one of the players that I really wanted this organization to be able to bring back. And I said it. If I was the Raiders, I would have brought back Adam Butler before I brought back Spillane, Nate Hobbs, Trevon Merrick. And it's because of the price tag, and it's because the importance of that position, especially for the way that this team's going to try to win. and this team's going to try to win in the trenches. Let's go to the next one here. Jeremy Chin, 2 for 16. I gave this an A- deal. He's going to be a player that I know the nation's going to love. Really hard-hitting, strong safety who plays up near the box. He plays, like, I know he's a strong safety, but he's also going to be a little bit of a linebacker, and it's coming off 117 tackles. Going to help you kind of replace Robert Spillane a little bit. Malcolm Kuntz, 1 year, $12 million. That's an A grade, being able to bring back a player of that caliber who's really going to be solid off the edge. Lonnie Johnson Jr., I gave this one a C because C to me is average, right? And it can be an average move. He sounds like a hard hitter, has the right mentality, going to be a special teams guy who's got a relationship with the coaching staff. That sounds like a C to me. Landon Roberts, I'm going to give this one a B, 1 year, $3 million. Landon Roberts is going to be the player that people fell in love with, like why people fell in love with Vontaze Burfict. People are going to, why the Raiders fans fell in love with Denzel Perryman. Why Raiders fans fell in love with Robert Spillane. They got a nose for the football. They're not afraid to come downhill, and you're going to feel that. But also with Landon, he's just a team leader. I'm telling y'all right now, it's one of my early recommendations out there for a team captain, especially with everything that he said at that press conference. But 1 year, $3 million, that's a really good deal for Roberts. He just struggles in coverage. So I would like to be able to see what the Raiders' plan is at free safety because, if you're playing on the rollout, hypothetically speaking, Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Paul Lamal, and then your linebacker is Landon Roberts, you're going to have a lot of coverage issues. So I would like to be able to bump that grade up some more, but you have to figure out your free safety situation right now for me in order to do that. Eric Stokes, 1 year, $4 million. I'm going to give that one a B- grade. Former first-round pick, does have a lot of talent. But, you're trying to add competition with Stokes on top of, sounds weird, DeCamerion Richardson, and then with, also in the mix, somebody like DeCamerion, Eric Stokes. Sorry, y'all. Jack Jones, Chuck, is doing some weird shit under here. But then also Jacorian. That's 4 cornerbacks that I think we can all agree do have talent. And if you're able to have 2 of those guys really truly emerge as a winner, that would be solid. The last move here that the Raiders have done is Raheem Mostert. I'm going to give this one a C+ grade with the opportunity to be a B-. I still want the Raiders to be able to add some more receivers. And right now, if this is the team that we don't have enough speed, in my opinion, to make the Raheem Mostert deal anything higher than a C+. Mostert has still got home run speed. He does. He's still actually, according to Next Gen Stats, one of the faster players in the NFL once they reach their top speed. They're going to use him very similar, I think, the way that Trevion Henderson was used last season by Ohio State. But because he's got that relationship with Chip Kelly and they're going to try to spread you out, we also need to have some threats at receiver to be able to do that. Brock Bowers is a dog. Jacoby Myers is a great possession receiver, but we don't really truly have that deep downfield threat. I hope Trey Tucker can take that next step, but I'm not going to count on Trey Tucker to do it because I'm not going to put all my eggs in the Trey Tucker basket. So right now, where I would say the Raiders are at is an overall grade of a B. And I say that because I do think that this is a better Raiders team right now than what it was when it finished the year. And it's mainly just because you upgraded at quarterback. That's the biggest reason. And then on top of that, you're able to go out and make smart moves by getting an Adam Butler, by getting a Malcolm Kuntz, 2 very important critical players that you're able to bring back that are going to establish this culture. Jeremy Chin and Landon Roberts, also very good. But then you can also see they're trying to add competition with Eric Stokes and adding a familiar face and a veteran in that running back room like Raheem Mostert. Still plenty of room to go. I will admit my free agency grades have dropped a little bit because of how conservative this team has been. I don't mind conservative, but I also want to be able to see the plan. And I was liking what I saw the first 2 days. It's been a little bit slower. I still think that there's plenty of room for this Raiders team to grow. And I hope with the money that we have, again, about 47, 48 million, 7th most in salary cap, this team is still going to go out there and they're going to make some moves this week. Plenty of time to do so. All right, y'all, I'm ready to hop on out here. I'm going to go take Chuck for a walk. If anything happens around the Raiders, you already know I'll do my best to keep you updated. Enjoy your Sunday. I'm going to enjoy mine. Tomorrow on the Raiders Report, be ready I'm probably going to drop a mock draft after free agency. I'm also probably going to drop an updated free agency targets video. We'll probably break down some news and rumors. And the next time you're going to see me live is going to be on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, unless breaking news happens before then. Enjoy your Sunday. Peace out. Go Raiders. All right, y'all, if you want even more content from the Raiders Report, make sure you click the subscribe button right here. I promise you I got you up to date. Even more videos right here, more videos right here. I really want something to happen today because I liked making this video, but I did feel like it was a little bit of a recap. If you made it this far, though, shout out to y'all. Give me a real one down below.